What's up, family?
Hey guys.
It is Easter Sunday. It is Resurrection Sunday. For
Yes.
those of you who are Easter individuals or folk who are in the world of Christendom, this is a special, excuse me, special weekend for many individuals. And so we just want to say happy Easter, happy Resurrection weekend for those of you who are uh, in that realm and celebrate
Mhm.
that special occasion. Listen, if you're here with us, we want you to do two things. We want you to let us know you're here. If you're watching the replay, we want you to let us know you're watching the replay. What you trying to do, Elizabeth?
I just frazzled,
Yeah, don't be frazzled.
as you can tell, because I
All
was
right,
in the
you
kitchen.
need a moment to kind of.
It's all right. Go ahead.
So Nisi was in the kitchen
Wow,
because
you really said that like like you're
what?
never cooking.
No.
Nisi
That's not.
was
That's
in the
not what I meant. I
kitchen.
did. That's not what. That's not what I meant. That is
Wow.
not what I meant.
The
See,
emphasis you put on kitchen, like, guess what, guys? Nisi was in the
that's that's
kitchen.
not what I meant. I did not mean it that way. All I was trying to say was that right before we turned this camera on, you were in the kitchen. We were a few minutes late because DC was in the kitchen. I was actually on a networking call, which was phenomenal, truth be told. And I'm glad they recorded it because it's not done yet. So we're going to be on there. But listen, today we got a few things we want to talk about, right? So we have today we're talking about and let me change this because this is inside the relationship. So let's change the icon up in the corner. So listen, today we got a few things we want to talk about. We want to talk about planning for the demise of your relationship. Wow. We want to also talk about what else we want to talk about today. We want to talk about friendship with your exes.
Friendship with your exes.
Yeah, we got an interesting question of the week this week. So, listen, let's jump right in. This is Inside the Relationship. We got those topics that we just talked about and more coming up on this episode of
Inside the
Inside the
relationship.
Relationship. Let's go.
Let's go.
You're watching Inside the Relationship with Denise and Ollie.
So sit back, relax, and let's talk about all things relationships. Yep. It is Inside the Relationship. Yeah, this is a relationship show for anybody who might be just stumbling upon this for the first time. It is a relationship show where we talk about all things relationships.
All things.
All things relationships. Last night, which was Saturday night, if you're not familiar with this, let me show you this real quick. If you're not familiar with it, we do a show on Saturday nights called Have a Conversation After Dark.
Mhm.
If you are not familiar with what that is, you need to go check that out.
Yes.
Last night was a great conversation. I'm not even going to say what it was. You just got to go check it out.
It was good.
But
It was
it
really
was a
good.
good conversation. And listen, it's about having conversations. We don't really give a lot of advice though in that
Right.
show. This show, however, you're going to get our take on certain things, different topics that come across us with social media or come across us in question form or stuff that we've dealt with clients that we've dealt with in the past. We're going to give you some of that insight, right? So listen, it's Easter Sunday. Um, Many of you probably have had a meal or are about to have a meal. We're about to have a meal as well. So we're not going to keep you long. We're going to jump right into the first segment. The first segment, which is the media mixdown. So let's go. So this whole time your mic wasn't on.
Wow.
Wow. So
The whole mic?
people didn't hear they probably were hearing you through my mic, but it was really low. So
Okay, well,
so here we
sorry
go.
about
It's
that,
the media
guys.
mixdown. So here's the media mixdown for today. And we would love to have anybody who's watching, or if you're watching this via replay, we would love to hear what you have to say about this. So here's the media mixdown. And most of you know I'm usually perusing the internet for articles. about marriage, for news about marriage. I probably do that more than I spend time on social media. I read an article that was talking about the conversations, the important conversations that couples should have,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we're big on having a
Having a
conversation.
conversation, yeah.
So here is one of the conversations that was in the list that they say is a conversation that is paramount, that you should be having this as a couple.
Yeah.
You want to know what it is? It is that as a couple, we should be talking about what's going to happen in the event that we divorce.
I think that's ridiculous.
You don't think so? So listen, we're proponents of conversation, and we say often we should leave nothing to chance. We should talk about everything. Do you feel like, because we've never had that conversation?
Why would we?
I don't.
I think that's ridiculous.
So let me tell you what the article said. So the article said that you should be prepared for everything, and it's often difficult to craft strategy around the demise of your relationship while your relationship is crumbling, because you're not in the best of spirits, you're not in the right mindset, you're not in the right mind frame. So while things are great and good and you can have a productive conversation, you should be talking about, what are we going to do? So if you and I were to divorce, who's going to get this, who's going to get that, we have this conversation. You don't agree with that?
No,
Why not?
because in my mind, if I'm thinking that way, I'm giving us, it's almost as if, well, I don't know if this is really going to work out. So let's just plan for it not to work out.
Okay. And
I don't think that that's smart in my mind.
I get that. So what about, so the pushback that I would, and an example that they made is people create prenups.
Yeah.
So a prenup, does that necessarily mean if we create a prenup that we're giving ourselves an out, or we're saying, well, this might not work?
Well, not in our case because we don't got no money.
Yeah, there's no prenup. Let's be clear
No,
about
I'm,
that.
I'm just saying. I'm on the fence with prenups. I'm on the fence with prenups.
Okay.
I feel like, I don't know. I'm not sure about that one. I'm on the fence about it because, well, I don't know. I'm in two minds about that one, clearly.
Yeah, so the prenup thing, I haven't given it a whole lot of thought, because it
Mhm.
wasn't something that it's so far outside of something that we have even dealt with.
Right.
If we split up today, you're gonna get this iPhone. That's it. That's all I got for you. That's all I got for you. You can have the iPhone. Maybe you can get this Stream Deck and a couple of little pieces of equipment in here, but that's
Yeah.
that's all I got. So the prenup thing is something that I haven't even thought about. But that's the two sides of that argument, right? Some people are like, no, the prenup is just it is good business savvy, and
Mm.
it makes good business sense, because you should be game playing for all scenarios, just like you would in the corporate space.
Mm.
So if you're managing a project, you need to understand, obviously, what are the components that of a successful project, and what are the contingencies in the event that things are not going the way they should go.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it depends on to your, because it just sounds like a contract when you say it like that. And marriage
That's
is
a
not
good point.
supposed to be a contract.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And so if you really know what marriage is supposed to be and who we're supposed to model it after,
Mhm.
obviously God, that whole business, contingency, all of those types of words, it
Mhm.
just sounds like a contract to me.
Interesting. Okay.
And that's not what marriage is about,
Okay. I I
you know.
I mean, you saying it that way, I'm with you. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. That's yeah, I get it. So let us know what you think. Is that a conversation? If you've ever had that conversation and you're happily married, like you're not having the conversation because you're on the brink of demise.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've ever had that conversation just as a a way of crafting strategy and game planning, we would love to hear that in the comments.
Yeah,
We would
that's
love to hear how that conversation went and what were the things that the components of that conversation that made it productive and successful, because this article says that these are the kinds of conversations we should be having.
I mean, it's very interesting and I understand the point.
Mhm.
I just don't necessarily agree with it.
Okay, so we're never going to have a conversation about what happens in the event that we get a divorce.
No, why? Why? Because to me, like I said, that's in the event. Like, are we planning on this? That, you know, that shouldn't be in our minds.
Okay.
Divorce should not be in our minds. And planning for that should not be in our minds, in my opinion.
Okay. Listen. I'm not saying I disagree with you. I thought it was interesting though, and I really had to kind of think about it when I read it, because I'm like, man, we tell couples that you should talk about everything.
Yeah, agreed. But I think in context, we
Okay.
say that.
For those of you who might be joining us late, we're in the media mixdown segment, and in a nutshell, the media mixdown is around an article that I read that says that there are several conversations that every couple should have. And one of the conversations was that you should be game playing for in the event that your relationship falls apart. You should have a strategy already in place. Who's going to get what? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? You should know that ahead of time, because when you're in the throes of your relationship being in demise, you're not level headed enough to have this conversation. And so, as a happy couple, you should be just like you plan for everything else. You plan for college for the kids, you plan for vacations, you plan for this. These are the kinds of conversations you should be having. I would love to know what you think. Put your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever had that conversation? What was that conversation like? Do you agree that as a happy couple, we should be talking about what happens?
Talking about divorce,
Right.
basically.
Should we be talking about what happens if our relationship is in demise? Is that a setup?
Mm.
Is that us essentially saying that we're giving each other an out?
Yeah. I feel like it is.
Okay.
I feel like it is.
I'm on the fence.
And you know what else I feel like? I feel like it's also saying to each other that you're not willing to work on your relationship up to a certain point or past a certain point. If this, we get to a certain point, divorce is going to be put on the table. How hard are you willing to work for your relationship that you're even considering having to talk about divorce?
Yeah. Listen, I don't disagree with you. The reason why I'm on the fence is because I'm thinking about it, and you kind of poke some holes in my thought process, because the words I was using, you said, sound very contractual.
Yeah.
But the reason why I was on the fence is because I'm like, well, we game plan everything else.
But marriage is not everything else.
Yeah, that's interesting. I thought it was interesting, man. That jumped out at me. I was like, I've never, ever heard anyone suggest that you should, in great times, have a game plan for if times aren't great anymore.
Do you know if the author of that article, if they were a therapist or not? I'm just curious.
You know what? I'm not sure, and I don't have it up on this screen. It's upstairs on a different screen. But
that's very interesting.
Yeah,
interesting thought.
I thought that was very interesting, and I couldn't say yay or nay to it, because I was like, I mean, think about what we do on Saturday nights. Have a conversation after dark. We're talking about the conversations that are tense, the conversations that are taboo.
Yeah.
Like, this kind of fits in that category.
It does.
So that was interesting to me. So let us know what you think about that. That is the media mixdown moment for today. Should you be having a conversation where you are creating a game plan for the demise of your relationship, even though demise is not in sight? That's an interesting thing there for me. And I got to admit, I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence about that. So if you're watching.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
know you're trying to move on.
No, go ahead.
But why are you on the fence? What would your yay be to having this conversation?
Just what we say all the time, that we should talk about
everything. Okay.
Now, let's be clear, just to add a little bit of comedy, which is it's real life and it's truth, but it's comedic in a sense. That conversation between us is going to be real short.
Very
Like
short.
that's a short for a lot of people. That's a long conversation. So for people who got millions in the bank and they got these different investments and they got this stuff going on over here and they got a house in the Hamptons and they got a house in South Beach and that's a tough conversation, right? You already know what you're getting. So we had the conversation right here on camera. You're gonna get this iPhone. That's it. You
And
be like,
And so maybe the person that wrote the article is thinking about those types of people,
maybe,
people
maybe,
that have
maybe.
houses in the Hamptons
Yeah.
and, vacation villas internationally and all that type of stuff.
But then is that contractual? Because that is business, right? That's a business side of this relationship. Think about what we do with Denali. That is the business side of our relationship. And we have to have contractual conversations about how things are going to go, how we're like, even when we set up the company, who was going to be at 51%, who was going to be at 49,
Yeah, but
and
we never did that. And I don't think that I still believe that in a situation like that,
Mhm.
I still think that, God forbid that it would ever come to that. I can't even wrap my mind about what around what I'm about to say, but I feel like because our relationship is not a contract,
Mhm.
it doesn't even make sense what I'm about to say, having prefaced it with that. But because our relationship is not a contract, I think that prayerfully we would both go into the decision making as far as Denali goes, and we would still want to be led
Mhm.
on what to do. It just doesn't even make sense saying it like that.
Because here's the thing. Think about it like this, right? Denali at some point, very, very soon, and I need y'all to hear this because I'm not just saying this. I'm telling
Okay.
you something that you got to watch out for. Denali LLC very soon is going to be high level.
Well,
Hold on, think. Let's hear me out. Denali LLC is going to be high level very soon. Now, with high level comes a certain kind of revenue, comes certain kind of business arrangements, comes certain kind of contracts. Do you know that a financial advisor is going to tell us that we need to create contingency plans
hmm,
because we're a married couple that's in business together?
I guess that we're just going to have to find a financial advisor who knows and believes that, and I believe that they're out there, and I believe that we might know a couple. I think that if we find the correct God-fearing financial advisor,
Mhm.
to them also, it this relationship and whatever all it entails is not a contract.
I'm with you. For the record, I'm with you. And it's a quick. I know I'm joking about the iPhone, but it's a quick conversation because I'm not going anywhere. So let's just be clear about that. Like you heard it here, those of you who are watching live and watching the replay. I'm not going nowhere. So God forbid if you hear that something is going awry, it's on her. Okay, let's all right. So we go. That's the end of that
Whatever.
segment. That's the end of that segment. That's the end of that segment. So
Oh.
let us know what you think about that. Is that a conversation that you should have, or is it a conversation that insinuates something negative? That's the media mixdown. I thought it was interesting, man. It kind of blew me away because I've never heard that before, and it was I had to think about it. So yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. So listen, let us know what you think in the comments. Let's get into this question of the day because this is another kind of juicy topic right here, right?
It's good,
So all
good
right.
question.
So hold on, let me see. I think we got it. We got a comment. I didn't see comments before. Honor, what's good, Honor? Honor's in the
My
house. Listen,
sister.
this is
Aw.
people's right here,
Family,
man.
family,
Yeah,
family.
man. This is people's.
That's my
Man.
sweet sis.
Honor and Dre. Dre is my
Aw.
guy. Like,
Yeah, good
yeah,
people. Did we just stop the whole show?
Yeah, we shut the whole show down when Honor showed up, man.
Right.
Like that is
Aw,
people's
my babes.
right there, man.
Love them to pieces.
People's. Anne Marie, what's good? I am in agreement with Denise. I feel maybe we should speak about how to avoid the demise. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Speak about how to avoid the demise. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the same kind of conversation though?
That's why I was hesitant to say yes.
No, it's not. I don't think it is.
You don't think it is?
No. Because that speaks to, okay, how are we going to stay together as opposed to what are we going to do if we don't?
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with that.
Yeah.
I'm with that. So let's get into this next segment. Thank you, Anne Marie, for commenting on that. Leave your comments and let us know what you think about that. Hey, let's get into this question of the day. Question of the week. Let's go. All right. So the question of the week is, and again, I got to add some context because I couldn't fit all of the question in here. But here's the question of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Question of the week is I sometimes talk to my ex about certain life challenges in my relationship and in business to get an outside, quote unquote, perspective.
Mm.
Now, here's what's missing in this. I started it, but I couldn't finish it because there's not enough room.
Mm-hmm.
The next sentence says, there is nothing, I think it said absolutely, there is absolutely nothing else going on outside of these conversations. Hand to God. But I've been told that this is not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
What say you? So before you get into that, let's get Anne Marie's other comments. She said, but we want to stay together rather than separate. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Agree. And that was for those of you who may be watching the replay. That's for the other segment. You got to go back and watch.
Yeah.
So what say you? I sometimes talk to my ex about certain life challenges in my relationship and in business to get an outside perspective. Now, here's another sentence that wasn't in here. Before this first sentence, the very first sentence says, my ex and I have a great friendship.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes talk to my ex about certain life challenges in my relationship and business to get an outside perspective. There is absolutely nothing going on outside of these conversations, but I've been told that this is not healthy. What say you?
I say there's nothing going on yet.
Oh, wow.
Outside of all of that.
Why you say yet?
Because I think that it's too, of all of the outside people, all of the people that you get an outside perspective from, I guarantee you that person, your ex, is not the only person that you can get an outside perspective from.
Okay.
Why would you choose that person? I think it's too close.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a good idea. It's too dangerous. One or both of you emotionally will begin, in my opinion, to, and also I think it's disrespectful to my current spouse. I think that's disrespectful.
Why you say that?
Because I've already been in a relationship with the person that I'm talking to. So they kind of know me a little bit.
Okay.
Right? And I feel like it gives my ex an opportunity for judgment about my current spouse and about our relationship, which is not fair.
Okay.
And also none of their business. I just don't think it's any of their business. I don't think it's a good idea. It's none of your ex's business.
Okay. How I'm playing devil's advocate.
Particularly about
relationships,
challenges.
Okay. So that's the key word that kind of jumps out.
Yeah, challenges, like, it's like it's almost as if you're having an emotional affair. In my opinion.
Okay, I never thought about it like that.
It's almost as if you're having an emotional affair. And also, would your current spouse be okay with you talking about these challenges with your ex?
Mm-hmm.
Probably not.
Now I know we had a I think it might have been in another inside the relationship. We were talking about being friends.
Hmm.
Can ex be your best friend or something like that? Is that not possible? That's got to be possible.
I again, why would you want to be that close to your ex still?
I don't know. I
Cordial,
don't have the answer to that, to be
cordial,
honest.
yes.
Hmm.
Respectful, yes. Why not? Absolutely.
Okay.
Even I was going to say even friends, but you know, maybe there's levels to friendship. I don't know. Cordial and respectful, absolutely. I think you should be that way with everyone. But there's got to be boundaries.
Okay. I'm with you there. There
There's
has
got
to
to
be
be
there has to be
boundaries.
boundaries, and you feel like this is crossing one.
I do. I feel like that's
What is
crossing the
not
line.
crossing?
Not crossing is not talking to your ex about challenges that you're having in your relationship.
But you could talk to your ex.
I would say again, it depends. I guess if you're asking me what kind of kinds
Hmm.
of conversations can be had, I think nothing nothing more than, you know, honestly I don't even know. Maybe hey,
Interesting. Okay.
everything I was about to say, I'm like, nah, that's not necessarily. And then I thought of something else. I was like, nope, nope, nope.
So Honor said they're an ex for a reason.
They're an ex for a reason. Absolutely. So listen, if you have children
Hmm.
with your ex,
Hmm.
maybe as far as the children go, that maybe should be
That's the boundary.
that's the boundary.
Okay. I
Yeah. And
okay.
I mean when necessary, you don't have to call your ex and say, hey, kid number whatever
Hmm.
wants to go to the mall. Of course, you're not gonna
Right.
reach
Right.
out to your ex for something like that. But
Yeah,
you
it's
know
going to
what I
be
mean.
big things.
Hmm.
Um. So here's the thing. I want to play devil's advocate, but it's kind of tough to. Right. Here's the thing that jumps out at me.
Hmm.
I sometimes talk to my ex about certain life challenges. If it only said in business, I'd have been okay.
Mm.
I don't think it's no matter what the other no matter what the other the sentence said, because the sentence that you don't see for those of you who are watching that says there is nothing, that sentence says in the question says there is absolutely nothing else going on outside of these conversations. It's it's a slippery slope
It's a slippery slope.
to talk to your ex about challenges in your relationship.
Why is it not in business? Again, I'm thinking of all of the people that you know. Why do you have to talk to
and
your ex?
and I get that.
Period.
I get that. And I'm with you on that. Why there's a whole bunch of people you can talk to about business, but is it a possibility that there was no more context, right? So it could have been that maybe they knew he or she knows the business or whatever it is.
Hmm.
None of that context was in the question. But let's just add, for the sake of embellishing, some context.
Hmm.
Let's say you're my ex.
Hmm.
You actually know about my business and you know what I do and you've seen the rise and ups and downs of that business and maybe spoke to them during our relationship or outside of the relationship. And let's say we truly are good friends for whatever reason. People always get, you hear people say this all the time where we're better off as friends than we were as lovers, whatever that means. I'm not here to pick that apart.
Hmm.
But let's just say all the stars are aligned in this perfect scenario. Why can't I talk to you about my challenges in business?
I just feel like it's the enemy only needs a small edge of a wedge.
Okay.
And why would you entertain that
Yeah.
possibility? Even if it's not even in your mind right now, it's not even in your ex's mind. The enemy only needs a small edge of a wedge, and that's it.
I can't argue with that. I can't.
There's too many other people you can talk to.
So for those of you who never watched the show, I often play devil's advocate. It's not necessarily that I believe what I'm saying, but what we don't often do is show both sides of a coin.
Hmm.
Because there are going to be people who watch this and like, hey, I got a
Right.
fantastic relationship with my
Absolutely.
ex, and
Yeah.
I don't feel like this is crossing any lines
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so My advice, and I'm kind of piggybacking off of what you said. My advice is talking to your ex about challenges in your current relationship is a slippery slope.
Yep.
And not so much that it's a slippery slope because you're going to end up in the bed with your ex. I mean, yeah, it could go that far,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a slippery slope because you can't control how what you're saying is being processed.
Yeah, that's good. Yep.
You can't. You can have the best of intentions.
Right.
You can be saying things. You are not demeaning your current
Sincere
relationship.
and innocent.
Right. You're
Yeah.
not demeaning the partner that you have currently.
Yeah.
None of that is happening. You just like, man, this is a springboard. One thing that we could say that we had in this other relationship is that we were able to talk and whatever.
Mhm.
But you can't control how they are processing that.
That's good.
So
That's
you
so true.
I could be telling you as an ex about the challenges in my relationship, and you're thinking about the fact that the other person is a terrible person. And
Mhm.
that's not what I said to you.
Right. Yep.
That's not what I said.
Yep. And
I just said,
that's
hey,
that
man.
small edge of a wedge.
Right. I just said, hey, man, we're just not talking the way we should. We've been, we usually talk this kind of way, and it just hasn't been happening. Now you like, oh, well, he or she is whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
No, I didn't say all that.
Right.
That's what I mean when I say slippery slope.
Mhm.
Now, obviously, the far extreme of that is yes, maybe feelings could develop, and you end up back in a situation that you don't want to be in.
Yeah.
That's the far end of it. But for me, what I'm thinking is that hey, you can't. There's some things you cannot control,
Mhm.
and you can't even explain, clarify, or negotiate in a way that is satisfactory because that person doesn't share a relationship with you.
Yeah. And again, to add to what I said before, I just honestly feel like that is just disrespectful to your spouse and
Mhm.
to your relationship
Okay.
because like Honor said, they're an ex for a reason.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's just still um holding on to, if you will, a piece of your ex.
Right.
Why?
Right. And I'm with you on that. Now,
Yeah.
here's the flip side for those of you who are watching this or maybe watching the replay. Here is the flip side. What we are not saying is that you got to be nasty.
No.
That's not what we're saying. We're not even saying you got to cut people off. I
Mhm.
mean, there's people that we know from our past
Mhm.
and we still know them
Mhm.
to this day.
Mhm.
And they're good folks,
Mhm.
right? But I'm not talking to them about challenges.
Right. Yeah.
And it's not because I'm concerned about what would happen. It's just that's not that's not the person I choose to have that kind of conversation with.
Yep.
So you got to really listen. You got to honor set boundaries. You have to
boundaries for sure.
Yeah, what were you going to say?
Sorry. I just keep going back to there's just too many people that you can talk to.
Yeah.
Why? Like, underneath it all, why would you choose that person? There's a reason,
Yeah.
in my opinion, that you're drawn to your ex of all people
Mhm.
to talk to.
Now, here I would say this: the other side of that is said, but I've been told that this is not healthy. Healthy is not the word that I would use. I wouldn't say that it's not healthy. What I would say is that it is a scenario that you cannot fully control.
Mhm.
So I'm not gonna say it's not healthy. It's healthy to have great conversation. If there's 100% truth to this question and there is nothing else, there's no feelings, there's no nothing, and you having great conversations, it is not unhealthy to have great conversation.
Mm.
However, you now have to be cognizant of the fact that there are some components and aspects of this that you cannot control, especially as it relates to life challenges in your relationship. That's the only thing that grabs me. The business thing, I can justify that. And I know you can't, but the
Yeah.
business thing I can justify. You got to be real careful when you're talking about to anybody.
Yep.
It don't even matter whether it's your ex or not. You
Yeah.
got to be careful talking to anybody
Yep.
about life challenges in your relationship
agree.
because you cannot control how they process
Very
what
true.
you're saying.
Yeah, that's
You just
true.
cannot. And
Very
that's
true.
dangerous.
Or you cannot, like you said, cannot control how they process what they're thinking now
Yep.
about your spouse.
You can't.
Yep.
You can't.
Yep.
And so for me, that's the thing that kind of jumps out at me. So let us know what you think in the comments, those of you who are watching this. Also, if you want to submit a question, if you want to submit a question, you can submit a question by emailing us the question, and you can email us at admin@denali.org. Email us the question. We'll throw it up on the screen. This is the first time I'm saying this. I haven't said it before, but obviously because every week some of the questions are longer and only have 200 characters. So maybe what I may start doing is putting the entire question maybe do an overlay of the question and then put that whole question up on the screen, maybe so we don't have to give context every week. But anyway, that's a side note that we could have done off camera.
Yeah, it is.
Forget you heard that.
I'm like, where are you going with this?
if you want to submit a question, please go ahead and submit a question to admin@denali.org. All right. So that was the question of the week. Listen, we're coming back with a marriage minute, but those of you who've watched the show before know that it is time for a word from our sponsor. It is a sponsor that we hold near and dear to our hearts. And so after you see a word from our sponsor, we'll be right back with the marriage minute. All right. Listen, that sponsor is near and dear to our hearts. Matter of fact, we have on 2 of the t-shirts right now, the 2020 Before Hindsight t-shirt, which is a phrase that comes right out of the book, Overcoming the Man Laws, for the man who wants to be his best despite what he was taught. And it is my goal because there's some things that I'm living in hindsight, right? There's some things that are happening. There's some mistakes I'm paying for. And my goal is to provide some level of clarity to someone before they have to live in hindsight. And that is the 2020 Before Hindsight shirt. Talk about the Hey Girlfriend shirt.
So the Hey Girlfriend shirt is just a movement that I'm trying to keep going, where there's so much negativity and competition in the world, and even just around us, our close around us in our community or whatever. So much competition and so much negativity and so much, gossipy type women. And I'm just not about that at all. And so the Hey Girlfriend shirt is just in support of women supporting women. Hey girlfriend, you look good today. Girlfriend, your hair looks great. Girlfriend, your business is booming. How can I help you? That type of stuff. Just support for other women instead of all of the negativity that even sometimes the media tries to put on women. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
With the way that the articles, the way they word certain articles, certain people that's been in the news even lately. Like, I'm just not about all of that. So it's just a way to support and just let your girlfriends know, and people you even see on the street, that you're with them, you see them, and you're in support of everything that they're doing. Hey girlfriend.
Good stuff. I love it. And shout out to Adina Johnson, Nick and Adina. Adina sent us a picture. She wore the shirt to the Voice to Men concert.
Yeah.
Hey Girlfriend shirt, and said that somebody talked to her about it. So shout out to folk who have supported us in that way. If you are so inclined to do so, you can go to pressandsew.com/Denali. There are some other shirts. We only talked about 2. There are some other choices there for you as well. All right, so let's get into this marriage minute. This marriage minute today, we're talking about active listening. Active listening. And we're not going to beat a dead horse. We're going to talk about it real briefly. Active listening. What is active listening?
Active listening is just making sure that you are listening to your spouse and not just hearing what they say, but actually really listening to their heart and what they're trying to convey to you.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ways that you do that is let your spouse finish talking,
Mm-hmm.
do not interrupt,
Mm. Have
and
mercy.
then, yeah, for real. Somebody over here got a problem with that.
Yeah, I'm a work in progress.
And then when they're done talking, repeat back what you heard, and then let your spouse respond with, yeah, that's exactly what I said, or no, that's not really what I meant.
Mm-hmm.
Let me clarify and let you know what I was talking about.
Yeah, that's good. And listen, here's what I all I want to say about the active listening piece, because you just described it perfectly. So many conflicts
Mm, arise.
arise and can be avoided
Mm-hmm.
if you would do this one thing. You're having a conversation with your significant other and they say something to you. This is what I tell couples all the time. Forego your knee jerk
Knee-jerk reaction.
initial reaction.
Yeah.
And in its place, just take a second. It only takes a second. Self-control is something that you can do. It's called self-control.
Mm.
So you can do it. Take a second and forego your knee-jerk reaction. And in its place, put in a active listening response. So here's an example. And you can use be yourself, because
Right.
I'm going to do it as I would do it, right? Because I'm going to talk how I talk. So Nisi says something to me and I'm not 100% sure about the whole thing, or maybe it came across reckless to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I would normally do is respond to the recklessness that I think is taking place. And now we're down the road to conflict.
Yeah.
Because she's going to respond to my response. And it's
Mhm.
just going to be back and forth now. We're not even dealing with the issue. We just
Right.
fighting each other over nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now I feel like this response is somewhat reckless, or whatever you feel the response is. I would say something like, okay, babe, so before I jump out the window on this, are you saying such and such and such and such and such? Because
Mhm.
that's kind of what it felt like.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what it does is it allows her to say, hopefully she doesn't say, yeah, well, heck yeah, that's exactly what I was doing. Then that's a whole different conversation we got to have. We'll deal with that in another show. But it gives her an opportunity to be like, no, that's not what I was doing. I wasn't trying to do this. I wasn't trying to belittle you. Wasn't
Right.
trying to do that.
Yeah.
I was trying to, and it gives her a chance to clarify.
Right.
Getting into that clarification part of the conversation, because there's some components to conversation. Clarification is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Getting into the clarification component of that conversation often, quite often, helps you to avoid
Yeah.
going down the road of fighting a battle that you don't need to fight.
And it turns the heat down.
Turns the heat down.
Yep.
And you may actually learn something.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, oh, and then here's what you can do. I'll even take it a step further. She explains it to me, and I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now. I have the opportunity to be like, babe, okay, so listen, in the future, can you not say this, this, and this?
Right.
Because that took me, that was about to take me off a different exit.
Right.
And now she knows, and we can grow and learn together.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So active listening. If you are not practicing active listening in your relationship, it is paramount that you are practicing active listening. And listen, I'll be honest. Can I be honest? The active listening piece was tough for me because it didn't make sense to me.
Right.
Because a part of active listening is me saying back to you what you said.
Right.
Why do I got to do that? You said it already.
Right.
That don't make no sense to me at all. But when I tell you that it helps you to avoid some pitfalls,
Yeah.
and if you love to avoid pitfalls, then you go on and do that, whether you think it's unnecessary or not, right?
And it all sounds so I can't think of the word, but it all sounds like you don't have to use the exact words
Mhm.
that we're saying. What
Right.
I'm hearing you say
Right,
is
right.
da 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 da. That just sounds so mechanical,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
just say it how
Yeah,
you
say it how
speak.
you say it.
Say it how you speak, but get the context or the gist of it across.
Yeah. So that's what we leave you with this marriage minute. Listen, forego your knee jerk reaction,
Mhm.
and in its place, put in an active listening response. Now, I'm not guaranteeing you that 100% of the time you're going to avoid conflict as a result,
Mhm.
but I am guaranteeing you that a large percentage of the time you're going to avoid conflict, because that knee jerk reaction generally is a reaction that causes a problem.
Yeah.
Because if somebody says something reckless to you and then your knee jerk reaction is to say something way more reckless back to them,
Yeah.
now you're in fight mode,
Right.
as opposed to getting some clarification. And maybe you'll learn that, hey, I really wasn't trying to do this, just trying to motivate you, just trying to do that. And now you have the opportunity to say, well, listen, babe, don't do it that way next time. Do it
And you
this way.
haven't even addressed the actual issue of why you started talking in the first
Right,
place.
right.
So that's still on the table.
Yep.
And then, if you go the wrong route and you go the reckless route, you haven't addressed the issue. So it never gets addressed.
Mhm.
It's just sitting there. And then resentment comes in
Right.
because the person that initiated the conversation never gets resolution to the issue.
Right. So now we got to fix that problem, the
Right.
wounds that are created on the battlefield.
Right.
And then when we dress those wounds, we still got to go back to the initial conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's too much. That's too much.
It's too much.
That's too much. That's too much.
But
just
we
just
do
get
it.
some clarification.
We do that
Yeah, we do.
sometimes.
We do. And
You
we're
know.
guilty of it too. It's not like we got it perfect. We're guilty of it too. But
Yep.
I'm telling you, the more intention you get in practicing that, the
Yeah.
less and less you're gonna see some of these blow ups that happen. You're gonna help to mitigate some of those.
Right.
I promise you that. So
Yeah.
active listening, that is the marriage minute for today. So listen, we're gonna get out of here. But before we get out of here, we got one more thing we want to share with you. And that, these marriage minutes really could be the last word, but we got a last word. So let's go. So the last word, and off camera antics. The last word is is simply this. The last word is this, and it's something that comes straight out of the book that I just put up on the screen, which is Overcoming the Man Laws, and it's something that I say to guys all the time, but it applies to everybody.
Yeah.
You cannot or should not demand something that you have not first developed. Say that again. You should not. I tell some guys you can't.
Cannot.
Yeah, you cannot demand something that you have not first developed. Thank you, Honor. Honor said, love it.
Thanks, Honor.
She said me too earlier. I think she was talking about the interrupting. That's me, man. I'm getting better. Honor, I'm getting better. I am. I trust me. I'm getting better.
You are getting better.
I catch myself quite often.
Mhm.
So I don't jump all the way into the lake. I splash a little bit and then jump back.
Mhm.
So I'm getting better. But you cannot or you should not demand something you haven't first developed. What am I saying when I say that?
So when you say that, you're talking about saying, well, you need to I'm trying to think of something. You need to wine and dine me more. No, that doesn't make sense.
No, that you could use that.
Okay, so you need to wine and dine me more. That's the type of things that I need. I need more romance. You need to be more romantic with me.
Mm-hmm. But yet I'm not being romantic to you, right? So that's what I mean. So and it could go for a lot of things. Like I'm demanding this high level of trust from you, but I'm not trustworthy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or I'm demanding this high level of respect from you, and I'm not respectful to you.
Right. Yeah.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
That is not, if you're trying to sustain a healthy relationship, you cannot do that. I think it was Gandhi who said, be the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah.
So if you apply that to your relationship, be the person that you want to see in your relationship.
Yeah.
If you want,
go ahead. No, go ahead. I want you to finish.
I was just going to say, if you want this trustworthy, loving, kind, considerate, whatever it is person, then start developing that.
So what would you say to the person who says, like, you need to be more respectful to me, but the reason why they're not as respectful is because of a previous relationship? And so it's not that they're trying to come across as being disrespectful, but it's almost like a guard. And so they're putting up their guard
Mhm.
is their way of it comes across to you as me being disrespectful, but what I'm doing really is putting up a guard because in my previous relationship I was disrespected so much.
That's a great question. And and here this kind of speaks to what we talk about on Saturday night with having a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
We have to get better with being assertive about our communication
Mm-hmm.
and not waiting until we're in the place of frustration before we get assertive.
Mm-hmm.
Because we said this last night, right? When if you wait until you get to the place of frustration before you become assertive,
Mm-hmm.
your assertiveness comes across as aggression.
Right.
So you should be able to say to your spouse when that comes up, hey, you're not respecting me and that kind of thing. You should be able to say, hey, listen, you know what? I hear what you're saying. Again, knee jerk, forego your knee jerk response of just what we talked about in the marriage minute. What I'm hearing you say is such and such and such and such. Why is that? Or is that right? And if so, why is it?
Yeah.
Now it gives you the opportunity to be like, man, you know what? I just don't expect this and this and this to happen because of
Right. That's what I was going to say. An
right.
explanation as
Right.
to why. Yeah.
And then two things can happen. One, which we always recommend, you get with a therapist or a coach to help you unpack that.
Right.
Two, now, if the person really loves you and cares for you and really wants to be about the business of facilitating meeting the needs, your most important emotional needs,
Mm-hmm.
that next question is going to be, okay, babe, how can I
Mm-hmm.
help
Yeah.
get you to the place where you feel comfortable and safe?
Yeah, and I think too the person, if it was me, would have to kind of open up a little bit
Mhm.
as to,
Mhm.
this is this is why I'm asking you to show me respect, and this is what it looks like. This
Oh,
is
that's
what
good. This is what it looks like. Yeah.
this is what respecting me looks like.
Mhm.
Because in my previous relationship I wasn't respected and it made me feel da 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 da, and
Mhm.
that's why I do da 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 da.
Yep. And
And
that's
that explains it all.
and you get to learn something about your spouse.
Yeah.
And then again, to add on to it, then that gives you the opportunity to ask your spouse this question: how can I, or what do you need from me?
Yeah, what do you need from me?
And then not just hear what they need from you, but actually do it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us be like, well, what do you need from me? And then when we tell you what we need from you, like, nah, I ain't trying to do that. That's you asking too much. No.
Or it may not be too much, but it just may, in your mind, seem so ridiculous.
Right.
Like, that is ridiculous. You can't possibly need that.
But they do.
But they do.
And
Yeah.
that's really what it boils down to. So listen, make sure that you are developing in the areas that you feel are important areas for your mate to exhibit. That is our last word for today. So listen, we're gonna get out of here. Happy Resurrection Sunday to you guys.
Yeah.
Again, happy Easter to you guys who celebrate. We are here. This is another episode of Inside the Relationship. If you are on our Facebook family, we want you over on our YouTube family because we do this every Sunday on YouTube. Most Saturday nights we are doing Have a Conversation After Dark, where we're talking about tense and sometimes taboo topics. You want to come over there and definitely get in some of those conversations. And then every Wednesday I am dropping a Coaching Chronicles, which is basically
Very
clips of actual coaching sessions.
Very good.
All right. And those are only 3 of the things that are happening. There's a whole bunch of other stuff happening over at YouTube. So make sure you come over and join us. So listen, we're going to leave you with this. We leave you with this every single week. 2 things. First thing is be intentional today about creating an experience that grows your level of intimacy. And what's the second thing we're going to leave them
The
with?
second thing is, until your 1 + 1 is 1, you're never done.
All right, family. We love you. We out of here. We'll see you in the next video.
Bye.
Blessings. That's not the outro. Okay.
That's
So
the
let's
wrong one.
try that again. We love you. We'll see you in the next video. Blessings.